Greetings pimps, today we will be discussing a phenomenon that has plagued mankind for centuries, but has become more and more prevalent over recent years as social media grows. There has always been these cringe complainers since the dawn of time. In fact, mainstream media made it into a monetized industry long before what we are covering today. We won't be speaking about such mainstream news outlets, however it should be stated they are on the decline, as even normies would rather watch YouTube over ad-filled drivel. And something being drivel from a normie's perspective is really saying something. Before we begin, it must be stated that this video is meant as encouragement to stop making complainer content, but I am aware the dopamine addicts that do make such content will never stop, as an NPC breaking an addiction is impossible. Now then, on with the show. Firstly, I need to say this is not talking about drama channels, as being a complainer is sometimes connected but not necessarily. What constitutes being a complainer in this video is one who complains, but in this case does nothing to help or stop whatever they complain about, and even worsens it. One of the easiest examples I've spoken on a few times before is people who complain about bad video games or devs. They're just in the business of complaining for the attention, money, and feeding their dopamine addiction. As if they weren't, they would never give such games or devs attention and allow them to fade into obscurity. And these same complainers wonder why gaming, especially multiplayer, has gone downhill. Lazy devs know they can get free attention and sales from complainer videos. Even if they go bankrupt, they feed their dopamine addiction. Probably the most hilarious one is people who claim YouTube is censoring them just because they get demonetized. LMAO. Now that's some grade A NPC thought processing. I already made a video on that one, though, so I won't go into detail. Another example is one that reared its head recently when YouTube added new rules in order to monetize content. These complainers yell at YouTube in a few videos, but then bend the knee and submit in order to make that precious money they think their content deserves, when in fact practically every single channel on here can be replicated instantly with minimal effort. If any large channel cared about their content and not just money, there'd already be a rival to YouTube with way better monetization options, not just ads from corporations. But they don't, so they adhere to all new rules and regulations because money triumphs over dignity and self-worth. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter to me if they listen and change or not. I am simply pointing out an issue. This is meant as a bit of advice for such channels to help them not only over their desire to give attention to bad actors, which we'll get to momentarily, but also their own personal dopamine addiction, which lead to this in the first place. A lot of this stems from games, which is why it is so prevalent in the genre on YouTube. People become dopamine addicts, and now practically the entire industry is dedicated to satisfying these addicts, since such channels have acquired large fan bases and subscribers with the same dopamine addiction. Not to mention, this is a huge reason why games have declined, especially multiplayer-wise, so to speak, but I digress. The most major complainer type are those that give aforementioned bad actors free attention even if they mean well. Such a recent example is a certain scam fiasco. If one actually cared about exposing a scam, one only needs a 60-second video, not several, or one that's several minutes, giving free attention and dopamine to an addict. But it's obvious this would happen, as the complainers are also addicts looking for that crack pipe to get their fix. In fact, one could argue making a video on him at all is a failure dignity-wise. However, many have sold their soul for dopamine and cash. This includes all your fave channels. No complainer genuinely cares about exposing the scams. They simply use it as a means to an end to feed their addictions and wallets, just like the mainstream media or gaming journalists they probably pretend to hate or at least have some level of disdain for. Yes, this includes every single video on him, no matter how detailed or intelligent you think it is. This problem will never be solved, but I choose to at least let others know of the addiction crisis impacting all of humanity. Our final example are those that complain about the state, capitalism, communism, corporatism, etc., yet do nothing about it. Now, this isn't to say start a revolution this moment, but it's to say if you're still being a good little state puppet, your complaining does nothing. In fact, it's embarrassing to those of us who attempt to choke out or at least avoid the state. Of course, one cannot fully avoid sales tax, but it's quite easy to avoid most others, especially nowadays, as well as cease all interactions with the state and its members outside of being pulled over by a road pirate pig. The funniest problem with these complainers is that the ones that call themselves anti-capitalist will do nothing in their own lives to avoid helping corporations and not even cease buying unnecessary products from the supposed evil capitalists. If you are anti-capitalist yet hearing this, you're in that camp, and no saying but moo workers made. It is not valid, as you still feed capitalists money. This is an obvious occurrence, though, as most anti-capitalists are simply virtue signalers. It doesn't matter if one believes them doing so changes nothing. It's about the principle of not feeding those you believe are pure evil and harming humanity. It's as if a voluntarist voted for president now. That would be one hell of a contradiction. Long story short here, don't complain when you're literally the cause of the problem, and even attempting to shoot it with growth serum with your attention. LOL. As stated, I realize this problem will never end, as NPCs easily become addicts, especially to dopamine and attention. Yes, especially if it's negative, and being a complainer is easy: views, subs and money, even if you have to cut up your content to bow to your YouTube overlords. This is the end for you, my friend. I hope you pimps enjoyed this video, even if you enjoy complainer content.